It's a conceptual drawing that crossed continents, involving some participants from France. The result of the work that went on behind the scene is revealed at this exhibition.
The endless boundaries of creative minds, the power of imagination, translating same in a manner that delights the eye.
This has actually, because I participated in the workshop, and both professionals and non-professionals participated in the show, and initially it was it was impossible, because the feelings from non-artists was that they can't draw. But with this particular workshop and with the output, it's obvious that everybody can draw, because it started, the whole exercise started from, because we're talking about conceptual drawing, right? And with what you saw, you discovered that starting from the unknown to the known, right? With that, the whole exercise became very interesting, and you discovered that people who thought, participants who initially thought they couldn't do anything, find it very, very interesting.
That creativity and interpretation is what you see in this exhibition hall at the Alliance Francaise, Lagos. The work on display is the conceptual drawing, a product of international collaboration between two Nigerian universities and their foreign counterparts from France, as derived from the Counter Histories Art Exhibition.
This is the result of a long amount of exercise by the students of the École Nationale of Paris, who visited Nigeria, who interacted with Nigerians and interacted with our institutions, starting from University of Nigeria, Nsukka. They went there to do some workshop. I think about 60 participants in that workshop. They also came down to Lagos and did a workshop at the Yaba College of Technology. And they made visits to the OYASAF, and visit both to OYASAF in Lagos and OYASAF in Abeokuta, and also interacted with the people of Nigeria, and more importantly, they partook in the African Drum Festival. And this is the outcome of their interaction.
I'm a big believer in bringing in different influences, because that is when sparks happen. That's often a catalyst to something really interesting happening, and a completely new set of dynamics will emerge. It's interesting that a lot of the visiting students have absolutely no link to the continent at all, and this is almost their first foray into the continent and what's going on here. And they've created in a very short period of time an incredibly dynamic body of work, which I think you can clearly see there's a link to where we are right now. So clearly there's been a very strong influence on them of time and place. So it's interesting.
It's the brainchild of Professor Senam Okuzeto, who alongside some of our students are in Nigeria to promote that form of art, and the response is the result you see here.
Conceptual drawing workshop was something that I developed 20 years ago because I was living in New York and teaching at a women's halfway house prison called Casa Esperanza, and these women had had problems with addiction, and that meant their concentration was very bad and they were very depressed, they had low self-esteem. So I developed this workshop to help them gain drawing skills, but also to kind of art therapy.
To our credit, Professor Senam has been promoting a concept which she also teaches: Counter Histories of a Continent, an attempt to change the narrative about the African continent, rewrite the stereotypes, tell the continent's story, its intellectuals and innovations.
Parallel to the conceptual drawing workshop, this is actually a publication that my students started designing before we came to Nigeria. First, to kind of present the work they do in my class in Paris, because at École Nationale Supérieure in Paris I teach a kind of research and practice course which is called Counter Histories of a Continent, Making, Mapping, Recovering and Reviewing. And my course is a kind of radical philosophical course which challenges racial stereotypes about Africans, and challenges the notion of the construction of art history of the last 100 years, where in Europe and America in particular, there is an idea that people talk about African art. It's 54 countries. We have national art histories. We do not have a continental art history, which is why it's called Counter Histories of a Continent. And so but everybody loves Africa, but at the same time everyone loves Africa, but then they're like, oh, they have no food, they have no this, they have no that, but I love it, I want to go there. If you have an Africa exhibition, everyone can't wait to go and can't wait to party and dance. So there are a lot of sort of strange contradictions about how Africa is portrayed, but also there's this absurd idea that you could understand the whole of Africa by looking at art from like 4 or 5 people. So Counter Histories of a Continent doesn't look at African art history, but it does look at a history of art as constructed by artists. So the history of Africa constructed by artists. So we look both at Europeans who made work about Africa. It's very romanticized, especially 100 years ago. And then we look at how Africans make work about nationality, about identity, architecture. And I contrast this with, like, in Europe people like to talk about post-colonialism. And I say, well, in Africa, we're not really too hung up on colonialism. We're more interested in our identity post-independence.
I've never been interested in contextual art, but my first experience in taking part in the workshop organized by the leader of the team, Senam Okuzeto, is that there is more to just, drawing representative art. And that you could come up with forms and beauties that are similar to the Uli School of Art. If you look around, you find that most of the work here is as if they are done by the Uli School.
But beyond that, it's also in memory of curator Bisi Silva.
Bisi was a curator of contemporary art, so this is right up her street. This was something that was conceptualized with the curator, and her organization, CCA, worked on it together and funded by El Enatse, who is also a board member of CCA. So I'm not surprised by what I'm seeing. It's the kind of thing that was totally right up her street. And I just think it's that's the beauty of art, and isn't it? You cross from one world into another, but you keep what your work definitely lives after you.
She was a great curator who has done a lot for the promotion of art in Nigeria. I mean, we're talking about curators. As far as we're concerned, Bisi is one of them. They are those that you want to consider that have done a lot for the art. And I think, unfortunately, she's no longer around with us, but she was actually the brain behind the realization of this particular workshop, because according to the facilitator, it was Bisi that emphasized the fact that the workshop must take place here in Nigeria. And with the support of people like Ella Nasui, EMC Shillon, and other, Alliance Francais, the whole thing came into realization.
It's a new art form that has aroused immense attention and curiosity among the artists, those who have come here to see this exhibition.
It's really nice, very unique, and you can see various expressions here, which, is what is the beauty of showing the uniqueness of each person's approach to seeing the same thing.
So, the conversation will definitely go beyond these walls.
We're about to draw the curtain on the program, but let's show you a glimpse of what to expect the next time you tune in.
Next week on Art House. For 3 days, a photo exhibition and conference took place in the commercial city of Lagos.
To just promote creativity in the continent of Africa. There's people from Nigeria here, but actually there's also people from other parts of the continent as well, which I think is amazing. We need this resource.
We'll be showing you how it all went down on the next episode of Art House.
That's Art House today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember to view this or any other edition of the program on our YouTube page. I'm Melinda Akinlami. Have a great day.